Welcome to this class. We're going to be doing more movements that will be very low to the ground, again, as a continuation of this project of doing low yoga. And the concepts will be more in line with yin yoga. And what that means is that we will be making sure that the muscles aren't going to be stretched, or the muscles aren't going to be engaged, and that it will be very, very passive. But we only move into a position that the body can sustain. And we don't come in and out of the posture because that would warm up the muscles. So we're staying more in the connective tissue. So we're feeling like the fascia and then the ligaments and the tendons have a tension on them. And so we might consider that we're stretching that, but really what we're doing is we're tensioning through it, creating a little bit of space. And when we come out of that, there's like a small amount of moisture that can come back to the tissues and make them slightly more elastic than they are. Also, it will often help to realign with the bones. So we do this practice before we've done anything very energetic because, again, we're trying to bypass muscles and go to tendons. So it's a cooler practice. That's why it's called yin. So it's not a hot yang practice. When we come into these poses, again, we're only going to be staying exactly to this kind side of sensation, so there's no pain, and we have some blocks. So just bring a bunch of blocks or some pillows, or I often use these sensi balls. They're a nice way to kind of anchor the body in a position so that you can stay aligned. And sometimes some people find coming onto a bolster a nice way to lean and relax, but it's not quite like when we do restorative yoga. It's not quite the same, but it is restorative to the psyche. So that's all the prefacing I'm going to do for now. Just don't push, don't pull, don't work hot or hard. All right, so let's just start now, just getting into a bit of a good mood of the mind. Taking ourselves first into butterfly. So what that means is the feet are basically coming together, the knees are wider apart, and it's not like bound angle or Baddha Konasana where the heels are closer to the groin. This is different. This is accessing different parts of the muscles of the legs. So let's just take the feet far away and take the hands, whether they're up here or whether they're by the feet, coming up onto some height. It's better to be supported than it is to stay way back here and you can't access the shaping at all. Okay, so just coming into a position where you would just stop and just hang your head. We're just going to breathe here, hanging the head, letting the weight sink into the hands, letting the lower back sink backwards. So we're not thinking forward, we're thinking back and down and easy, and we're thinking about breathing, letting the breath expand in the belly and the chest, and it exhales from the chest to the abdomen. We'll stay here for quite a while, breathing, feeling the sweetness in the mind, letting the head stay hanging so we go to a position that we can sustain, rounding the back slightly, feeling it in the lumbar, in the middle of the back, rounding back. And the upper back just naturally rounding and breathing in through the belly. The chest. Exhaling the chest and the abdomen. If you're noticing that a little bit more movement happens, you have access to a bit more space, then let yourself just go there, but
Again, remembering that it needs to be sustained. We don't go back and forth if we can help it. We stay where we are, stay steady. A slight steady tension through the tissues as we breathe in and as we breathe out. And pause. Slowly start to bring the breath more expansively in the body. Use your hands to support. So because we've been relaxed here, we walk the hands slowly, one hand and then the other, as we come slowly up. And once we come up, we just pause and feel the transition. Take the hands to the knees and support, bringing them up, and just sit holding on to the knees, sitting a bit tall. And then let's straighten out through the legs. This is one of the times where I use my sensi balls to wedge myself in for stability. You can also use a block just at either sides of the hips to stay with the thighs slightly rolling in. But if they roll out, that's fine too. Straightening the legs, coming up onto the height. If your body isn't able to come forward in to any degree, then you come up onto some height. Make it part of your practice using props. So seeing that the legs are in alignment with the knees facing the ceiling if possible. They might start to pull out to the sides, allow that. The legs are relaxed but with a slight steadiness to them. Take yourself forward. Maybe your hands are on the mat or on your leg. And drop your head and let the back round so that we can let some pull happen through the fascia. Feeling the sensation as we breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Feeling the breath expand in the back body. Relaxing the muscles at the tops of the thighs that sometimes push you back. Let those relax. If you have your bolster, you can put that on your legs. And remember that you're pushing away your hands on the ground as stability, or maybe your hands are on your legs and you push down for support. This is my breath in, and this is my breath out. Keep consciously with that as you're saying in the mind. There isn't a location or a shaping that brings rightness to this, except that you can relax and find a way to be with what is, being kind in the mind, being kind in the body, and marrying the two with that fusion, the glue of breathing in and of breathing out. And then slowly bringing the breath coming in, walking the hands slowly, little inching up, using the hands as a support. The tissues have had that tug, and you can notice when you've been in that position, it's different than if you used your muscles to come into forward fold. It's a different shaping. There's a different reasoning behind the shaping. Take your hand under one knee, support bending that. Take under the other, support bending, coming into a nice position to just circle the knees and feel tall
And come into a bit of a back bend. So a little bit of a back bend on purpose, lifting the chest, feeling the belly button going a bit forward and up. Breathing. And then relax. Coming into deer pose with the legs. So we have this right knee bent with the foot on the left thigh or arm or knee. And this left leg, you'll either have this foot bent like this where you're on the side of the foot, or you might want to come on the top of the foot. So whatever's going to be your shaping. Also, this is where you sit on some height, where sometimes we need to put some support under our knees because it just doesn't like being where we've put it. So support yourself for stability and longevity. Let's just take both of our hands on either side of this right knee. Let your hips go back, feel them go back, drop the head. And the breathing. Letting the back round convexly so we don't have the same concepts as when we're doing the asanas in our usual way. We let things round and lean and tug on the fascia and not the muscles. And as you're here, there might be a little bit more forward that your body comes. You might walk your hands a bit forward. The left hip can come up in this process if that is what starts to happen. And then also maybe the chest comes towards this right knee and you come like this, or you can even walk yourself only if it suits, only if it works, only if it's happening in the body. Walk yourself behind the knee and come to the ground more this way. And find your breathing and your pausing. Use your inhale breath and slowly walk to come up and supporting the transition. When you sit up, just keep your eyes closed or do close your eyes and just have a moment of feeling the stillness and being up in this new transition. And then let's release those legs and come into this on the other side. So it's a different side. Do we need to have the hips lifted up onto a block sitting on this gray block, or do we need our knees supported? And we look to relax the legs like they're just draping down into the ground. So when we have that, we need to sometimes support and bring the ground up to the legs so that the legs can relax. And understand
Let's take our hands on both sides of this right knee. Understand when the body is relaxed. Sometimes we have patterns of holding that we don't know we're holding. So really dig deep, like put on your internal headlamp and go spelunking into the inside sensations of the body and unravel. Maybe coming a bit forward if that works in the body, if it's accessible. Or maybe you can walk yourself a little bit behind this left knee and come to the ground or in this vicinity, relaxing the legs and breathing. Slowly inhale and use the floor, pushing up, kind of languidly and slowly and supportively, and then close your eyes and be up. Open your eyes, support the legs to coming into the knee holding. Circling the legs or the knees in a way that you can, maybe a bit loose or kind of tight. And pause and just feel the sensations in the mind and in the body. What is the quality of your breathing like? Lifting the chest, bring the belly button forward and a little bit up, feeling this extension through the spine. Looking up and not hanging the neck back, but just extending through the front of the throat. And then come back. Okay, let's come into this where we'll stack the right knee above the left. So this might be how it looks, where the heels are balanced and the feet are coming out at the same angles. Also, it might look like this, where this
right foot is just standing on the foot. You don't want to sickle it like this so much. Like you don't want to be here and like this. You're standing on that foot. Or some people's hips, it will be like this. Also, obviously, if you come onto some height, it will make it a bit easier as well. Okay, so you're going to come into any one of those versions. Remember, sustainable, because we want to be able to melt the body. It's what we're looking for, is a kind of draping or melting. So let's come into this. So the hands are going to be on the mat. You're on some height if you need it. And then let yourself just come forward over these knees. If we were doing this as a regular asana, I would be engaging through the legs. I would be feeling muscles contracting together and activating around to support all of the joints. So that's why this is different. The muscles aren't activated. We're supporting with our hands. We're letting ourselves relax a little bit back with the lumbar spine, taking it back and down. And then the upper chest is coming a bit forward, and you can drop the head. And let's be here for a few moments. And just remember that there's nowhere that we need to be in this except finding the sense of center. Feeling the internal space, like you feel your internal seer as you see yourself from the inside out, and we find the sweetness in the mind and the sweetness in the belly as we breathe. Relaxing the muscles of the legs and the back, but the hands are a kickstand supporting us, pushing the hips back and down as we drape over the legs or drape forward in some capacity. You can put a block on your thighs to drape over the block. Using your breath in your hands, walking to come up. Pause. And then slowly leaning back and supporting the legs to come out. Go into this on the other side, so the right knee is on the bottom. Whether you're choosing to have this left leg with the foot on the left of this bottom leg or on the right, or whether the knees can stack. We come up onto some height, it's a different side. We have different sensations in the hips. Feeling the tailbone going back and down, the lumbar back and down, and the rest of the body draping, melting in its forwardness. You can use your hands to push the sitting bones back and down, and then just relax the legs.
Relax the heart, the internal space of the chest. Keep the head draped and pause. This is my breath in, and this is my breath out. Inhale, walking, coming up and pausing. Release the legs. Holding the legs and just hanging back, letting yourself relaxed in the back body. So this is about finding ease in the mind and the body, calming the nervous system. Okay, for the next one, we'll come forward onto our hands and knees. You may wish to find this as your position where the knees are a little bit farther apart than the feet, maybe a little farther apart than the hips, and that you sag and you drop the head. This might be the position that we stay in, where the head's hanging and the shoulders feel like they're going up to the sky, the belly goes towards the ground, the chest comes towards the ground. So this is a nice place to hang here if your wrists are okay. And then another transition is if you come onto the elbows and do the same thing. Come onto the elbows and let yourself just sag and hang down towards the ground. Feeling that the bum's in the air and the chest is coming in the direction of the ground. Staying here a few breaths. Cultivating the quality of sweetness in the mind, noticing. And letting it permeate through the body. Staying in this kind of hanging place, or you can take one arm forward, or maybe both arms forward, and let yourself hang here. And when we hang here, we're looking to have the thighs a bit more straight up and down rather than back, or rather than too far forward. And when we come into this position in regular yoga, we would activate through the arms and shoulders, but here we stay very relaxed through the arms and shoulders, maybe turning the head to one side or coming onto the forehead. You can also place a block under your chest as a way of supporting yourself a little bit higher up. For me, it feels pretty comfortable to come onto my chin.
stay and breathe in the shaping that you can sustain. Slowly take your hips back and go into a wide knee child's pose. Now, because of all the work we've been doing, my chest comes easily to the ground, but that might not always be the case for everyone. So you may wish to bring a bolster under the torso and come like this, turning the face to one side. Using your hands, inhaling, coming up, and just walk the knees closer together. If it doesn't suit for your knees to be bent like this, then go onto your back and hug your knees into your chest. We often focus on having the feet side by side, but in this particular pose, you just let the feet be absolutely relaxed and let your body drape and come forward into child's pose. When the knees are together, there's more of a convex shaping for the lower back, and that's what we're looking for here. So just breathe and be in your child's pose. Feel how the body is smooshed on the front and expanding on the back. This is my breath in, and this is my breath out. Lift the hips and shift them over to the right and use your arms to support you, and turn your head over to the left so your body's in a bit of a C shaping. You're just slightly asymmetrical and you're off center in your child's pose. Using your right elbow as a balance. Everything's relaxed, but you're stabilizing with your right arm. Come back into center and then shift your left hip off. So your hips come off of the heels, using your left elbow to support. Your head is facing more to the right and you're in a bit of a C shaping this way. Feeling more length on the left side of the body.
And back into the center. Pause. Just one more breath here in the center in your child's pose. Very relaxed. Feeling easy in the hips, the pelvis, the lumbar. And then inhale coming up. Pause. Feel the transition. And then let's relax. Just as a suggestion, you may wish to have a bolster for under your knees and a pillow for under your head. And when we come into this, we're going to come into like a bound angle look. So the feet are together and the knees are out to the side. And then come down slowly onto the elbows and sink down. Having the pillow for your head, palms face up. Or maybe the hands want to come to the belly as a way of being sweet inside. Relaxing fully through the toes. Into the bases of the toes and the balls of the feet. The arches. Tops of the feet to the ankle, around to the heel, up through the shin to the knees. And from the knees through the upper leg into the hip socket. The back of the pelvis and through the front of the pelvis or the low belly, relaxing and being sweet. Feeling that things remain unfurled and with space being created. Relaxing the lumbar spine down and wide. And the belly down and wide. Back of the ribs, sides of the ribs, and the front of the ribs, down through the shoulders, the upper arms to the elbows, the elbows to the forearms, forearms to the wrists, and to the palms in the front, and the backs of the hands, down through each finger, the back of the neck and the front of the throat, and the back of the head, the top of the head, sides of the head, and the forehead, and face. Relaxing and melting your personality. Feeling the body nice and heavy and down to the ground like sandbags. Like sandbag legs and sandbag arms. A sandbag torso and a sandbag head. Feeling the whole body as a heavy sandbag body, relaxing and melting to the ground. And that the skin becomes more translucent, less of an obvious shaping of the body and more a suggestion of shape. Breathing in and breathing out of the translucent quality of the skin. And the surrounding energy body. And gradually bring more shape to the body, consciously bringing the breaths moving in and moving out. Bending one knee in and then the other knee in towards the chest, and just maybe squeeze and lengthen the back and relax on your back for a couple of breaths. And then roll over to one side and come up. Transitioning to a seated position so that you can consciously transition from your yoga practice to the rest of your day, hands into heart. Yoga Mudra.